Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, in this episode 3741 BN. Today's date is September 29th, 2025, and the title of the episode is Shutdown, Executive Order 14210, Planned Reduction in Force, Setting the Stage, Peace Through Strength. What I find very interesting, that 1 in 4 low-income households spend 15% or more of their income on energy bills. This leaves many families having to decide between putting food on the table or paying their power bills. Since 2022, retail electricity costs have increased faster than the rate of inflation. This is why I use this magical little device and would never go a month without it. It is state-of-the-art energy-saving tool that minimizes dirty electricity and environmental impact. This gadget can be effortlessly connected to any regular electrical socket and employs advanced technology to oversee and fine-tune energy usage in your household. By scrutinizing and modifying the electric current, it can notably diminish the quantity of energy consumed by your home appliances and gadgets without impairing their effectiveness or operation, and help support lowering your energy bills. Do your wallet a favor and grab one while it's on sale now for up to 60% off, only at don'twastepower.com before your next pricey power bill comes in. Plus, if you order now, you'll also get a 60-day 100% money-back guarantee and several other bonuses. Once again, that deal is only at don'twastepower.com or click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech fake news, the puppet masters, you can see everything that Trump is doing right now. He's leading them down the path. And yes, certain things have been planned for quite a while. I think he knew exactly what the D's were planning to do, Soros was planning to do. And what I'm talking about is the shutdown. Because back in February, he created an executive order 14210, and this actually set everything in motion to have a reduction in force just in case there is a shutdown. And all of this was done because I do believe he knew that they were going to try to push this. And this would give him the ability to drain the swamp very, very quickly. And you could see that Soros, Schumer, who's being controlled by Soros, they are pushing this very, very hard. And we might see the shutdown, and this is going to allow Trump to drain the swamp. Now, even if they don't do the shutdown, the D's are still screwed because Trump is going to remove these people anyway. This is just a faster way to do it. So this is going to be very, very interesting moving forward. And you can see that Trump now is setting the stage. And like we said yesterday, he is now pre-positioning the National Guard in all these different cities. He could do this without the Insurrection Act. He already got the court rulings. Yes, Oregon's going to sue, which they are doing right now. But that's absolutely meaningless because the National Guard is protecting the federal buildings. The National Guard is protecting the ICE agents. Trump is allowed to do this. There's already a ruling. So this lawsuit is ridiculous. It will not work. And Trump, he's setting the stage for all of this. Because what do you think is coming down the line? More indictments. When bad news hits the airwaves, what do the D's do? They create distractions. And you can see this is exactly what they've been doing. They've been creating distractions, which we call false flags. And they're going to continue to do this, and I do believe it's going to ramp up as time goes on. Remember, we're still at war. The war has never ended with the deep state players. They are now fighting back against Trump. And I do believe as we move forward, and there are more indictments of high-level people, not just, Comey lying to Congress. I'm saying when this gets to the next level, this is when they're going to really try to distract the American people. And I think Trump and the Patriots, they know this. They know they're going to try to start some war, and they'll probably use a false flag for this. It might even start off with a cyber attack or maybe something like a missile or something like that to try to bring us into war. And I think Trump now is actually leading the deep state, the EU, down this path, and he wants to make sure that it is completely and utterly controlled. And I wouldn't be surprised if he has back channels into Putin, because I don't believe that it's Putin who is the problem. I do believe it is the EU, NATO, because this is all part of their plan. Their plan from the very, very beginning was to bring us into war with Russia, China, North Korea. They wanted World War III. This was their plan. Actually, Trump let us know this when he beat Hillary Clinton. He said, if Hillary Clinton won, we'd be in World War III right now. We've known for a very long time that this is what they have been planning. Trump is just saying, okay, if this is what you want to do, fine. I'm going to lead you down this path. I'm going to make sure it's controlled. And actually, I'm going to use the power of the people to push peace. And you could see that Trump and the Patriots, they have already negotiated a peace deal with Israel. Netanyahu has visited D.C., visited with Trump. Trump has put out the peace plan. And now it's up to Hamas, the Palestinian people. And yes, within the plan, if they decide they're not going to go along with the plan, there's also sections in there that says this is how the Trump administration, this is how Israel is going to react to all of this. And we could see that Trump now is pushing peace through strength. Now, you have to remember, within Gaza, we have Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. It's very, very difficult to negotiate with terrorists. That's why they're called terrorists. So the plan might not work. Hopefully it will. Hopefully those individuals within this region, they look at the deal and say, this is pretty darn good. Actually, it looks like a pretty darn good deal. And if they do not decide to go with this plan, well, I think all hell's going to break loose. And this is going to be a complete and utter disaster for the deep state players. So again, every step of the way, Trump, he wants the deep state players to do the right thing. He wants to follow the rule of law. He wants them to negotiate a peace deal. He doesn't want war. He doesn't want any of this. But again, you have to remember these people are criminals. Criminals, they don't like to negotiate. Criminals, they don't like to follow the rule of law. And if you committed all these crimes, you're panicking most of the time. And you could see that these criminals, I think they're going to fight to the very, very end because they realize that no matter what happens, they're screwed. And criminals, they don't want to lose control. They always want to be in control. They want to keep pushing their criminal activity. And I think in the end, they'll just keep doing what they're doing. I think Trump knows this, but he wants to give them a chance. And once again, you could see the deep state players, they're going to really take this to the next step. And you could see that they are now panicking because he's bringing in the National Guard to all these different locations. He's pre-positioning them. And yes, he's trying to keep the people as safe as possible. Now, remember, on a higher level, Trump can keep the country safe. Yes, can he keep the people safe in the cities? To a certain degree, in regards to Antifa, in regards to looting and burning. But, you know, the everyday criminal, that's a little bit more difficult. In D.C., he does have a lot more, much more power in D.C. because, again, it's not a state. And he has the ability to use the National Guard to police the entire area compared to Chicago, compared to New York, compared to L.A., compared to Portland, where he could bring the National Guard in there, but they're only going to basically protect the federal buildings and protect federal agents. They're not going to go around policing, but just having the soldiers there basically deters the criminal element, and it also backs the police up. And you can see this is what Trump's goal is right now. And you can see the deep state players, what they're going to do is they're going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, because this is what they're instructing Antifa to do right now, because they know that Trump is coming after Hillary, coming after Obama, coming after Soros. And yes, these people are going to use their foot soldiers to try to stop this. Is it going to work? Absolutely not. It's going to fail, just like everything else is failing. And I do believe the NFL, the Super Bowl, is going to be a failure, just like everything else. And it seems like they might be sending a political message to Trump. Robbie Starbuck put this out and said, Roger Goodell in the NFL just decided to make the Super Bowl political by picking Bad Bunny as the 2026 Super Bowl music act. The guy literally says he isn't touring the U.S. because of Trump's ICE raids and just released a video mocking President Trump. Also, most of his songs aren't even in English. This is not a pick designed to unite football fans or let people just enjoy the show. It was a pick designed to divide fans, and no doubt Bad Bunny will find some way to push a woke message. Are NFL owners in on this idiocy, or are they just culturally that disconnected from reality and how Roger uses the NFL to push left-wing social issues? Is it that hard to pick a unifying music act who doesn't want to peddle woke propaganda? Does this guy really scream American football to anyone? Be for real with me. No one thinks he does. This isn't about music. It's about putting a guy on stage who hates Trump and MAGA. And yes, this is what it's all about. And I'm going to say most of the people, I wonder if they're going to watch NFL. Are they going to watch it up to a point where they shut down the halftime show? Or are they not going to watch it at all? I think that would be an incredible message. You want to do this? I think the country should respond saying, you know something? We're going to do something else. We're not watching it. C3 put this out and said, you know who picks the NFL halftime show? JC with his company Rock Nation. Here's JC with Satanic Spirit Cooker Marina Abramovich. Maria is featured in the Podesta emails. Does the Bad Bunny pick make sense now? They do not even hide it anymore. And who else is JC friends with? Oh, isn't that Obama? Very, very interesting. I do believe they definitely are sending a message to Trump and the MAGA base. I think we need to send a message back. We will not watch the Super Bowl. But let's see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. Now, the other thing that's very interesting, and I do believe in the end when everything is right and the optics are really good, when we're really indicting the upper level of the deep state players like Obama, Hillary Clinton, Soros, and the rest. And yes, there's going to be a lot of other individuals. I do believe at that point in time, we're going to start to see the Epstein information come out, and we'll probably see other information come out. Because again, if these people are liars, if these people are treasonous to this country, and they've been involved in child trafficking, they've been involved in pedophilia rings, I do believe that the people are going to look at this and say, holy crap, this makes sense now. This all fits, and we could see that, yes, if they're treasonous and if they're liars, they can also do these things. And I do believe this is going to basically bring all of this together. And the other thing that's very interesting is that Prince Andrew is now barred from the royal family Christmas again. And what's very interesting about this is we know that he has been dealing with Epstein. He stayed with Epstein in New York. And yes, we know that most likely he was involved in pedophilia or something else. So the edict comes after another scandal surrounding the Yorks, this time concerning the Duchess's decision to maintain contact with Jeffrey Epstein following his conviction for sex offenses. It emerged she had described him in an email sent in 2011 as a steadfast Gennaro and supreme friend. Newly released documents show that Duke visited Epstein in Palm Beach, Florida, while on a taxpayer-funded visit to New York. The prince went on the May 2000 trip to promote a $250 million fundraising campaign for the National Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Children. And you know, while they're doing this, it's always the opposite of what they're actually pushing. So this is very, very interesting, but let's see how this all plays out. Now, the other thing that we could see is we know the deep state players, they have been pushing their agenda to remove the weapons from the people. They've already done it in UK. They've done it in New Zealand. They've done it in Australia. And look what's happening out in the UK. They're already pushing the digital ID. Now, eventually what's going to happen as people get the digital ID, they will be completely and utterly controlled. Now, of course, in the beginning, they're going to tell you, no, that's a conspiracy. We're not doing anything like that. We just want this because this will enable you to work because we have so many illegals in the country and we will know who a citizen is. And eventually what's going to happen is this will then be your ID for everything. If you log on to the internet and you say something wrong, you are shut down. If you're out there protesting, they will get your ID. They will shut down your bank account. Actually, from the top, using central bank digital currency. If you're not doing something that they want, they can shut down your electronic devices or your electronic car via your digital ID. This is what it's going to be used for. And the only way to introduce something like this is you got to make sure that people can't fight back against the tyrannical government that has the weapons. So first, you got to take the weapons away, which UK has done, Australia has done, New Zealand has done, and now Canada is trying to do. They tried to do it here in the United States, but I think our founding fathers were very, very smart, saying, no, we have the right to own a weapon, to bear arms, which means to carry any weapon, not for hunting. That's a lie that the D's put out there. And remember going back in time when Justin Trudeau said, listen, since we had the Nova Scotia mass shooting, and this was back in 2020, we're only going to go after the assault rifles. There is no such thing as an assault rifle, but this is what they call it. And this is all we want. We're not going to go after your pistols. We're not going to go after anything. Well, we know that was a lie. They always start with the fake term assault rifle, and then eventually they ban every single weapon. And that's exactly what Trudeau has done. And what's very interesting, and Wall Street Maverick put this out, Canada is forcing all Canadians to hand in their guns. They have 1 year to get compensation by handing in their gun. Starting in October 2026, it will become criminal to own a gun. So I guess when they tell you we're only going to come after the assault rifles, they're lying. We've seen this in Australia. We've seen it in New Zealand. We've seen it in the UK. They tried to do it here. Remember, we only want the assault rifles. That's all we want. You can keep everything else. We know it's a lie. Because, again, when you get rid of the weapons and you give everyone a digital ID, it's so much easier to control the people. Now, what's very interesting is that Switzerland is now approving the digital ID with a 50.4% voting yes. So the people, they're saying, yes, we would like this. Now, Switzerland, almost every single person has a weapon. This is going to be very, very difficult in Switzerland. Now, you have to remember, going back a little bit in time, in 2021, the Swiss citizens voted 62% against a digital ID. And now they're basically saying yes to it, which means they've been infiltrated and tricked. And I do believe in the end, the people are going to wake up and the people are going to realize that this is a bad decision, just like they're realizing this out in the UK. Because remember, Keir Starmer, he's out there telling everyone that the digital ID is what is being introduced because of all the illegals in the country that the British government brought in. Remember, they created a problem and they had a solution waiting. But the people of the UK, and I think the people of many countries right now, are realizing that they're heading down the wrong path. And when you look at Keir Starmer, when you look at Macron, when you look at Merz, and you look at all the different installed politicians, you can see their approval rating is absolutely awful. And Keir Starmer is now the most unpopular British prime minister in recorded history. So basically, the people, they don't want him. The people are pushing against him. And this is going to continue to happen. It's going to happen worldwide. Sometimes you got to show the people. Sometimes people have to go through the crap before the people say, you know something, this was the wrong move. What are we doing here? I mean, people saw this when Biden was allowed to live in the White House. People started to realize, even the DE started to realize, you know something, we're on the wrong trajectory right now. All the illegals are in here. The economy's failing. Crime is everywhere. They're using up all our resources. Wokeism is in every single school. This is absolutely the wrong path that we're heading down. And the people, they rose up and they were able to override the rigged election system. And this time around, what people are now seeing is they're seeing the deep state players trying to bring us to riots, trying to bring us to war. And you know what's going to happen? This, once again, is going to wake the people up, because sometimes you need to show the people the truth and you need the people to experience it. You need the people to reach the precipice. And remember, people reach the precipice at all different times. But I do believe the next one that is coming up is World War III. Because again, nobody wants a nuclear war. Nobody wants to send their sons, their daughters, their cousins, their mothers, their fathers. Nobody wants to send their family members off to war. And people don't want to go off to war because war is dirty. War is death. And this should be the last thing that we ever do. And if you take this to the next level, nuclear war is about 1,000 times worse. Because again, nuclear war is fought not with troops, but with missiles flying into countries and decimating thousands of miles from the blast, from the radiation, and everything else. So it's a very, very different type of war. And I do believe this is going to bring people to the precipice where they're going to push back. And I think Trump needs the people, and he needs not just the people in this country, but the people around the world. That's the strength. That is the strength that pushes peace. And I do believe this is what Trump needs. He needs the people around the world to push peace against the deep state players. And you could see Ukraine, they are continually hitting energy facilities in Russia's regional capital. And they're trying to provoke Russia every way possible. But in the end, I do believe that all of this is going to end up in peace negotiations, especially when the deep state players, the EU, they bring us to the edge of war. And I do believe Trump is bringing us down this path. And what's very interesting is that Denmark's Defense Department is urgently calling up soldiers from the reserves. So that is very, very interesting. And Pieter Klepp, he asked ChatGPT, and he asked them, is this true? And when was the last time this happened? Since 1990, there have been virtually no cases in Western Europe where reservists were called up on a national scale for domestic defense. Reservists have been deployed for international missions, such as in Bosnia, Kosovo, Iraq, Afghanistan, but these were targeted deployments, not a nationwide call to defend the home country. The French Operation Centennial, following the 2015 attacks, was largely composed of professional soldiers with a few reservists, but it was not a formal mobilization. Other countries, such as the Netherlands, Belgium, and Germany, have used their reservists for exercises or international operations, but not for a national threat. The call-up of Danish reservists in 2025 is likely the first genuine large-scale national mobilization of Western European reservists since the end of the Cold War. It is therefore an exceptional case, which means what are they preparing for? They're preparing for World War III. And you have to remember, the EU, they have already told us that they're in a hybrid war with Russia, which consists of drones and cyber attacks. Now, I do believe Trump and the Patriots, they are leading the deep state players down this path for World War III. They know that they were never going to come to the negotiating table. They don't want peace. They don't want to give up Ukraine because, again, if they have peace, they give up Ukraine, it's pretty much game over. They don't have a distraction. And they're still following their 16-year plan to basically reduce the population of the world and control the world the way they want it. And you could see that Trump, he knows their plan. He knows what they're trying to do. And I do believe this is why he's leading them down this path. Now, I do believe, just like we were told that Hillary Clinton's World War III, not just her herself, but she was going to be the one orchestrating it all, this was going to be a controlled war. I do believe Trump now is going to be controlling all this, and he's going to make it look like it's very, very scary as we move forward. And U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has acknowledged that the White House is actively considering proposals to sell Tomahawk missiles to European allies for the use in Ukraine, just like Trump went ahead and sold defensive weapons to NATO. Now, this is being put out there to actually push NATO and push EU in the direction they want. And he said that Trump, his administration, is looking at selling the long-range Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. Does this mean he's going to actually do it? Maybe, maybe not. But I do believe that I think he's bringing us down this path so we can have the power of the people to push peace. Are we going to get very close to World War III? Is it going to look scary? I do believe so. And we even have U.S. Special Envoy to Ukraine, Keith Kellogg. He's confirmed over the weekend that there is no prohibition on Ukraine from Washington on using American long-range weaponry to strike within the Russian mainland. The general said that each instance will need to have a sign-off from the president. Now, we also have reports that Trump is rejecting all this. Remember, this is just talk right now because Zelensky has been asking for it. And when Europe hears this, when NATO hears this, they're pre-positioning everything, hoping that they're going to get something like this and they could purchase it and then give it to Ukraine to start their World War III. But once again, we might see something else happen, maybe from North Korea. Because once again, this is where it was supposed to originate. And again, we could see that Russia is close to North Korea, China is close to North Korea. And if something does happen with North Korea, they would say it's part of Russia's attack on the U.S. Or if there is some type of cyber attack first, then a missile, then they can make the case saying it was all due to Russia. But this reminds me of Post 4847, and within this is 4828. And it says, do you remember when the media had wall-to-wall, live-in-fear coverage of North Korea? Do you remember when Hawaii's accidentally sounded the incoming missile alarm? What happened? North Korea no longer a nuclear threat? Mountain collapse? China seeking North Korea commitment to fire short, long-range ballistic missiles pre-election? Down below, there's a link to a article from Reuters, and it has to do with North Korea missiles and North Korea unveiling a monster new intercontinental ballistic missile. And down below it says stage being set. So I do believe back then, we know that Obama wanted Trump not to speak to Kim Jong-un. He didn't want any type of communication with Kim Jong-un because they were going to use Kim Jong-un to start World War III. Trump decided, you know what? Well, the hell with that. I'm going to speak to Kim Jong-un. I'm going to go visit him. We're going to have peace. And I do believe they formed a relationship. I do believe Kim Jong-un is working with Trump. Now, are there going to be deep state actors and others that are going to try to convince you that it is North Korea? I do believe so. And you can see Trump. Did you know a growing body of research shows that when you diet, your body fights back? Levels of ghrelin, the hunger hormone, shoots up, while leptin, the hormone that signals fullness, drops. That's why most diets feel like an endless battle. The more weight you try to lose, the hungrier you get. It's not a willpower issue. It's literally your biology. This is why I use my secret weight loss weapon, and I'm obsessed with the results. BioTrust GLP-1 Elevate is designed to naturally trigger my own body's weight loss signals without drugs, prescriptions, or needles. It promotes a feeling of fullness, reduce cravings, reduce hunger hormones, help me lose fat instead of muscle, and supports healthy blood sugar levels. Be sure to grab a bottle now while it's 50% off and start experiencing real results only at trimwithx22.com. Plus, by ordering now, you'll also guarantee 2 free ebooks titled The 3-Week Diet and 53 Fat-Burning Smoothies and Milkshakes. Once again, the website is trimwithx22.com, or just click the link in the description. He is now trying to stop what the deep state players are trying to do out in the Middle East. And he wants the war with Gaza to end. And I do believe eventually he's then going to pursue Iran. Because you have to remember, we have 3 different hotspots right now. We have Ukraine with Russia, Gaza and Israel, and Iran. Even though Trump destroyed their nuclear facility, Iran is still a wild card. And you could see that Trump, to make amends with Qatar, Trump forced Netanyahu to apologize to the Prime Minister of Qatar. OSINT Defender put this out and said, Qatar had previously told Trump and other U.S. officials that they required an apology from Israel if they wish to resume mediating negotiations with Hamas. And it looks like Netanyahu called up the Prime Minister of Qatar and apologized for the ballistic missile strike earlier this year, which is very, very interesting. And then Trump today, he announced his plan with Netanyahu to end the Gaza conflict. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll read some points here. And let me start with Gaza will be de-radicalized terror-free zone that does not pose a threat to its neighbors. Gaza will be redeveloped for the benefit of the people of Gaza who have suffered more than enough. If both sides agree to this proposal, the war will immediately end. Israel forces will withdraw to the agreed-upon line to prepare for a hostage release. During this time, all military operations, including aerial and artillery bombardment, will be suspended, and battle lines will remain frozen until conditions are met for the complete stage withdrawal. Within 72 hours of Israel publicly accepting this agreement, all hostages alive and deceased will be returned. Once all hostages are released, Israel will release 250 life sentence prisoners plus 1,700 Gazans who were detained after October 7th, 2023, including all women and children detained in that context. For every Israeli hostage who remains or released, Israel will release the remains of 15 deceased Gazans. Once all hostages are returned, Hamas members who commit to peaceful coexistence and to decommission their weapons will be given amnesty. Members of Hamas who wish to leave Gaza will be provided safe passage to receiving countries. Upon acceptance of this agreement, full aid will be immediately sent into the Gaza Strip. At a minimum, aid quantities will be consistent with what was included in the January 19, 2025 agreement regarding humanitarian aid, including rehabilitation. Entry of distribution and aid in the Gaza Strip will proceed without interference from the two parties through the United Nations and its agencies and the Red Crescent. Gaza will be governed under the temporary transitional governance of technocratic, apolitical Palestinian Committee responsible for delivering the day-to-day running of public services and municipalities for the people in Gaza, which is very, very interesting. This committee will be made up of qualified Palestinians and international experts with oversight and supervision by a new international transitional body, the Board of Peace, which will be headed and chaired by Trump with other members and heads of state to be announced. Very, very interesting. Trump economic development plan to rebuild and energize Gaza will be created by convening a panel of experts who have helped birth some of the thriving modern miracles cities in the Middle East. A special economic zone will be established with preferred tariff and access rates to be negotiated with participating countries. No one will be forced to leave Gaza, and those who wish to leave will be free to do so and free to return. We will encourage people to stay and offer them opportunity to build a better Gaza. Hamas and other factions agree to not have any role in the governance of Gaza, directly or indirectly, or in any form. A guarantee will be provided by regional partners to ensure that Hamas and the factions comply with their obligations. Israel will not occupy or annex Gaza. In the event Hamas delays or rejects this proposal, the above, including the scaled-up aid operation, will proceed in the terror-free areas handed over from the IDF to the ISF. And an interfaith dialogue process will be established based on the values of tolerance and peaceful coexistence to try and change mindsets and narratives of Palestinians and Israelis by emphasizing the benefits that can be derived from peace. And all of this is being done right now. So Israel is agreeing. Trump has created all of this with his team, and now it's going to be presented to the deep state players, to the state-funded terrorists. Now, once again, let's see what they do. Because again, if they lose this area, think about all the protesters out there that are saying free, free Palestine. If there's a peace negotiation and there is peace in this area, this is going to be kind of tough. Plus, think about all the aid that Iran has been sending the Hamas terrorists. That also comes to an end, which means Trump now is isolating Iran. Because again, all the other countries, they are signing on to the Abraham Accords, and Iran is going to be the only country that has not. And their terrorist operations, well, those are going to be coming to an end. So this is going to be very, very interesting as we move forward. Now, again, these are terrorists. We just need to remember this. Hopefully, the people within the country, they say, you know what? We're going to agree to this. We need to get rid of Hamas. And let's see how this all plays out. This will be very, very interesting moving forward. Now, the other thing that we could see is that the midterms are coming up. There are governor elections or mayoral elections coming up. All of this is happening within the next year or so. And out in New York, we see something very, very interesting. We see the deep state players, they are pushing Mamdani. We see there's a lot of D's pushing Mamdani, and Mayor Eric Adams, he decided to drop his reelection bid. And basically, this is going to boost Andrew Cuomo, but I don't believe he's going to have enough votes to outdo Mamdani, which means it's going to be left up to the people of the city. And again, you have to remember, New York, just like California and many other places, they have rigged elections. And sometimes people need to see what they're getting so they can say enough is enough. Sometimes you got to show the people have to experience what it really feels like to have someone like Mamdani in charge. Trump, he put this out on Truth. He said the following: self-proclaimed New York City communist Mamdani, who is running for mayor, will prove to be one of the best things to ever happen to our great Republican Party. He's going to have problems with Washington like no mayor in the history of our great city. Remember, he needs the money from me as president in order to fulfill all of his fake communist promises. He won't be getting any of it. So what's the point of voting for him? This ideology has failed always for thousands of years. It will fail again, and that's guaranteed. President DJT. Plus, Trump, he was being asked, what do you think of Mamdani winning the election? And Trump's response is the following: the Dems won't listen to the facts and reason like a spoiled child. The only way to let them learn is to let them do it. They're going to learn today. Lisa May responds and says, sometimes you can't tell the public the truth. You must show them. Only then will people find the will to change. And that is absolutely true. And you can see that's exactly what's going to happen, because it's exactly what happened when Biden was allowed to live in the White House. Trump had to show the people, do you want the country to head down this path? It's that simple. And the people said no. Eventually, the people in New York, they're going to do the same exact thing. They're going to say, this is the wrong direction. If he gets into office, the people are going to have to wait. They're going to have to experience it. And they're going to have to say, wow, this is really, really bad. Hopefully, the people come out in droves and they override the rig system and they don't have this individual as the mayor. We'll have to see how it all plays out. But you could see the deep state players, they are now panicking in all the different cities, like Chicago, like Memphis, like LA, like Portland. And when you look at Chicago, you could see the federal takeover in Chicago is ramping up. Eric Doherty put this out and said, many U.S. Border Patrol agents were spotted roaming the sidewalks on North Michigan Avenue. Border Patrol is also present in the Chicago River, and local Democrats are furious. Stay safe, heroes. And once again, you can see Trump now is pre-positioning the National Guard. This has nothing to do with the Insurrection Act. The court has given him the ruling that he is allowed to bring the National Guard to protect the federal buildings, the federal agents, and just having them on the streets, this is going to make criminals think twice. And this is being done on purpose. And you could see that the Oregon governor, the Portland mayor, they are panicking right now because Trump now is going to be bringing in the National Guard into their area. And they're trying to convince the country that it's very, very peaceful there. You have to remember, Portland, Oregon is like the main base for Antifa. And this is where they operate out of. This is where they set up shop. And you have to remember, these installed politicians there, they want Antifa there because it keeps them in power. It destroys their opposition. The governor put this out, and the governor is Tina Kotek, and said, I was in downtown Portland walking peacefully with the people of Oregon to say that we don't need military intervention here. We are peaceful. We are united. We are Oregon. And she came out during the day and showed how peaceful it was. Andy No responds and says, why didn't you go outside ICE at night so you could see the assault and violence that happened? Because that's not what they want to show people. They want to show everyone, look, it's very, very peaceful. I'm out during the day. Well, Antifa is not out during the day. Antifa comes out at night. And why doesn't she go at night to the ICE locations? Very interesting, because this is how they trick the people. She also put this out. In my conversation directly with President Trump and Secretary Noem, I've been abundantly clear that Portland and the state of Oregon believe in the rule of law and can manage our own local public safety needs. There is no insurrection. Andy No responded to this, said, there is no insurrection against you because they are on your side. The insurrection is against the U.S. government. And they make it clear Have your team reach out to me and I can arrange for you to go undercover with my colleagues. No problem, since you say it's so safe, right? And again, these are the people that are pushing the insurrection. It's almost like a criminal saying, listen, I don't see any crime here. Listen, I'm robbing banks, I'm hurting people, I'm looting, but I don't see any crime. What are you talking about? It's peaceful. Look. It's like John Brennan saying, listen, I investigated myself and I'm innocent. I see nothing that they can charge me with. I looked through everything. I tried, but I'm innocent. They have nothing on me. I already proved it. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, really think about it. Are the crowd of Antifa, are they going to the governor mansion? Are they attacking the governor? Are they attacking her people? No. Everything's focused on the federal government, on ICE, on the federal buildings. That's where the insurrection is. So I think everyone can see this and everyone knows it. Now, what's very interesting is that the U.S. Secretary of War, he has formally taken part of the Oregon National Guard under federal control to deploy 200 troops to perform federal functions. Oregon Democrats in power have immediately sued to try to stop it, saying Portland is safe and peaceful. Well, didn't they try this in L.A.? Didn't they sue? Wasn't there a ruling? And then there was another judge saying that Trump violated the Posse Comitatus Act. And then he was overruled because, again, what is the National Guard doing? The National Guard is protecting the federal buildings. The National Guard is protecting federal officers. Trump is allowed to use the National Guard in this way. And once again, it'd be helpful if the governor assisted in this, but Trump, he's allowed to do this without the governor. Now, this doesn't violate anything, and the court already upholds this. Now, the other thing that we know is that those individuals with the green hats, they are from the National Lawyers Guild, and they protect the foot soldiers of the deep state players. And Data Republican put this out and said, this will surprise absolutely nobody, but National Lawyers Guild is a partner member of Mark Elias, Democracy 2025 Project. Seems like we should interrogate Mark Elias for material support of terrorism. And remember what Trump said. All those people that are supporting, funding, or have organizations that support the terrorists, they are terrorists themselves. And he did this on purpose. And now we're starting to get the evidence and the proof that these people are now supporting Antifa. Isn't it amazing how all of a sudden we're starting to map all this out, and now you can see how this is all connected? And I do believe it's going to get worse and worse for the deep state players. Now, just yesterday, something bad happened to a church where this individual drove into the church, started shooting up people up in the church, and it looks like people died, other victims were hurt, and this is absolutely awful. And the violence has to stop. And what's very interesting is that as the MAGA crowd, yes, the MAGA crowd points out, the trans people that are causing all this, but the MAGA crowd, they don't want violence at all. It doesn't matter if it's a trans person or if it's a conservative. Remember, we don't want violence. We don't want killing, especially people that are attending church. And what's very interesting is that Lucas Sanders put this out and said, this is Thomas Jacob Sanford, the suspect in today's Michigan church shooting. He's a 40-year-old U.S. Marine and veteran of the Iraq War. Basically, he was not black, not transgender, not immigrant. How will MAGA react to this? Well, we're going to react saying we don't want violence. We condemn this type of violence of killing people. We don't react like they do, where they go out and they destroy buildings and loot and burn and kill other people and radicalize more people. We do the opposite. Now, once again, Carolyn Levitt, she explains that what she understands based on the conversation with the FBI director, all they know right now is that he was an individual who hated people of the Mormon faith, and they are trying to understand more about this. And basically, we'll have to see how this all plays out. And what's very interesting, people are saying that he's a Trump supporter, but again, in this state, they really don't show if this individual is registered as a Republican, Democrat, or anything like that. So this is very, very interesting, unless somebody can, find out about that. But when you start to search all of it, the Michigan doesn't really say what you are, which is very, very interesting. And we might find out other things of why he went ahead and did this, because again, what you see on the surface is not always what's below the surface. But Trump, he responded to this and said, I've been briefed on the horrendous shooting that took place at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc, Michigan. The FBI was immediately on the scene and will be leading the federal investigations and providing full support to state and local officials. The suspect is dead, but there's still a lot to learn. This appears to be yet another targeted attack on Christians in the United States of America. The Trump administration will keep the public posted, as we always do. In the meantime, pray for the victims and their families. This epidemic of violence in our country must end immediately. And if you notice, this violence is continually building and building and building. And I do believe this is going to continue to happen because the deep state players, they're going to keep pushing this. Because as news comes out about them, and as they're continually being indicted and more evidence comes out showing that they're treasonous to this country, and as we get to the point where a lot of the Epstein information comes out about child trafficking, human trafficking, and pedophilia, yes, you're going to see violence increase. But Kim Sachs points out something very, very interesting. From the truth that Trump put out, she said, very interesting. DJT timestamp 1308 about attack at church today. Post 47, does anyone find it to be a coincidence? There's always a terrorist attack when bad news breaks for the D's. And yes, we're having bad news coming out about Comey, bad news coming out about other individuals around Comey. And I do believe in the end, they're going to ramp this up. And what's very interesting is that you could see everything that the D's have done in the past. They've already set the precedent. And all we have to do is look at Eric Swalwell, when Trump was being indicted. Mays put this out and said, when Trump was first indicted, Kevin McCarthy called it a political prosecution. Eric Swalwell immediately went on TV and claimed that McCarthy rhetoric was going to incite violence. Now, Eric is urging people to fight the bully over Comey's indictment. So basically, they already set the precedent. And basically, you can go after a political figure. And this time around, this is being done with real evidence compared to Trump. Remember, Trump doesn't have to make up the evidence. The DOJ doesn't have to make it up. Comey, Brennan, Clapper, Hillary, Obama, Soros, they have already created all the evidence. Basically, what they have done is just going to be used against them. There's nothing that Cash has to make up, Pam has to make up. Everything will be in their own writing, their own documents, their own emails, and their own texts. And you can see the D's, they're actually telling you exactly what they're going to do if they gain control of the midterms and if they gain control over the 2028 election. Eric Doherty put this out and says, Congressman Eric Swalwell announced he will target and investigate private citizens who work with Trump when Democrats win in 2026. Accountability is coming. It's all going to come out. I hope this deters people from doing more of these deals for the president. We will subpoena the DOJ, but also private actors who've done these drug deals with the administration. So they are just announcing their plans to weaponize government now. So basically, they're saying that they're going to be coming after pretty much everybody. And you can see that this is where this is going to head because, again, they have to, just like with the insurrection, they have to send a message to the people of this country. But again, they're not going to win the 2026 midterm. They're not going to win the 2028 election. All of this is not going to happen whatsoever. But you could see they're saying the quiet part out loud of what they're going to do if they can finally get control, but they're not going to get control. And with Trump removing all the illegals, we can be sure that their control is basically being removed every step of the way. C3 put this out and said, the Democrats have around 40 to 50 worth of fraudulent congressional seats due to illegals. 760,000 people per seat, 40 million illegals. That's what anti-ICE is all about, power. Around every 760,000 illegals deported for Democrats lose a seat. It's not compassion. Simple. And yes, this is why Trump and team are moving so quickly to remove all of these seats. And this is why they're panicking, because, again, this allowed them to get control. And now it's completely and utterly falling apart. And we could see who's behind the shutdown. George Soros. So George Soros is bankrolling all of this and is leading a campaign to push Senate Democrats into blocking government funding, even if it triggers a partial shutdown. Indivisible, the same leftist group that organized No Kings protests and other anti-Trump demonstrations, is urging Democrat lawmakers to refuse any bipartisan deal with Republicans and Trump ahead of September 30th deadline. So we're going to see, most likely, the government shut down. And Soros is behind all of this. Now, do you really think that these people have the upper hand? They do not. Remember, they already set the precedent saying shutting down the government will be catastrophic. All those people that are dependent on the government, you'll not be able to get your food stamps. You'll not be able to get paid. And we're going to see certain things shut down in the government. It's going to be a complete and utter disaster. Listen to what the White House put out and listen to all these people talk about the government shutdown. And when I say all these people, they're the D's, the fake news, and they're telling you how bad it's going to be.
People hostage instead of just letting them do their jobs, which they want to do while we work out our differences. So wrong.
This is democracy. And in a democracy, hostage tactics are the last resort for those who can't win their fights through elections, can't win their fights in Congress, can't win their fights for the presidency, and can't win their fights in the courts.
A government shutdown of any duration would harm hardworking Americans and our economy.
Why should we ask TSA officers to go without their hard-earned pay while they protect our airports?
I'm a senator from Virginia. Some of the hardest effects of shutdown will be seen in my state.
If the government shuts down, it will be average Americans who suffer most.
Some who right now are trying to figure out how they're going to pay rent, how they're going to make mortgage payments, how they're going to keep college payments going, how they're going to keep the lights on, how they're going to keep food on the table.
Had the government shut down, hundreds of thousands of people would have not gotten their paychecks. Federal employees would have been furloughed, sent home.
Our military won't get paid. Head Start teachers won't get paid. Our wildfire fighters won't get paid. Federal prison guards won't get paid.
A government shutdown means seniors who rely on Social Security could be thrown into chaos. Our veterans could see regional VA offices shut down and support services put on hold.
Shutdowns are not good for the economy.
Shutdowns cost taxpayers billions of dollars per week.
Shutdowns cost the economy billions of dollars.
They cost businesses.
So they're the ones who are causing all of this. Isn't this amazing? So now all Trump and the Patriots have to do is replay this, and the people will know who's responsible for all this. But I do believe Trump, he led them down this path. He knew exactly what they were going to do. Because, again, they have to stop him every step of the way. Peter Seong, PhD, put this out and said, the federal government could shut down tomorrow at midnight. If it happens, it hands Trump a blank check to terminate every single federal program he doesn't like. And it instantly puts the federal budget into surplus. Think about Executive Order 14210. So the provided text describes the integration of federal shutdown planning into reduction in force execution as part of Trump's administration workforce optimization efforts under the Department of Government Efficiency Initiative. Executive Order 14210, issued on February 11, 2025, explicitly mandates the agency heads promptly undertake preparations to initiate large-scale reductions in force, consistent with applicable law, while prioritizing the elimination of functions not mandated by statute or other law, including those not designed as essential during lapses in in appropriations, i.e. shutdown, furlough, list from agency contingency plans. This was operationalized by a joint OMB-OPM memorandum on February 26, 2025, which directed agencies to base initial RIF targets on those same shutdown furlough lists from prior contingency plans and to submit Phase 1 agency reorganization and RIF plans by March 13, 2025, with Phase 2 finalization and implementation targeted for September 30th, 2025. So that is very, very interesting. And once again, these people are going to be let go, and he's going to drain the swamp pretty darn fast. And the deep state players, the Ds, they're going to be looking at this going, what the hell is going on right now? We're losing our criminal syndicate people. And Trump, he doesn't have to bring these people back. They can actually look at the departments. They can say, you know something? We don't really need these people. So let's reduce the workforce. So no matter what the Ds do at this point, they're screwed. And it looks like Trump knew that this is something that they were going to plan. And this is why he put all of this in place to counter everything they're trying to do. He's weakening them every step of the way. He's protecting the people of this country every step of the way. And he's going to be bringing people to the precipice. And it's going to be most likely a nuclear precipice. And people are going to find the will to change in the end. And this is not just going to be Republican and independents. This is also going to be the Ds, because those Ds who are moderates, they're not going to want nuclear war. And Trump is going to be the president of peace. And you're going to see the Ds, the rhinos, the fake news, those out in the EU, all the installed politicians, they are going to be the group of war. And Trump is going to say, no, we need peace. And every time people hear the Department of War, well, they're going to realize we're going to war. He did this on purpose. So you don't hear defense, you hear war every single time. And people are going to say, we don't want to go to war. Now, we might have a scare event. It might look like we're going to war. But I do believe all of this is controlled by Trump. And this is to bring the people to the next level. And once this happens, I do believe the Ds, the fake news, Soros, and the rest, they're screwed. Because this is going to snap people out of it. It's going to wake them up. And once they're awake, you can't put them back to sleep. See, it's the power of the people that's going to push peace across the world. And the deep state players, they will not be able to fight this no matter what they do. Why? Because the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.